You know, a balloon, right? So it's filled with air. Mariah's high note is also like a balloon, but it's not filled with air. Today we're going to talk about the high note of Mariah Carey. So first of all, what is the high note of Mariah Carey? Is there even such a thing? Yes, there is. Just to make things clear, I'm not talking about the whistle notes. So I don't even know how to whistle. I'm still looking to meet someone who can teach me how to whistle. So when you first hear of that phrase, Mariah Carey's high note, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? It's different, right? When you hear many singers sing their high note, and then when you hear Mariah sing her high note, there's a difference. It's a big difference because the high notes of Mariah is very distinctive. It's unique to her own. So a lot of singers may be able to hit the high note, but for some reason they sound almost the same. Even the kids can actually sing like the grown-up singers these days. But then when you try to listen closely to how Mariah hit her high notes, you can tell that there's something that sets it apart, right? And the main difference with that is because when Mariah is hitting her high notes, she is able to sustain the width, the weight, and the depth of her voice, even up there. Unlike other singers, what happens is that when they try to hit the high note, it somehow felt like they are squeezing it so that they can hit the note. Because when you are singing like a low note, usually your voice is more open, right? Like, oh, and then when it goes up, it's and then it's like this, so it's wide, so your voice is like this, and then when it goes up, it's like your throat is getting smaller just to hit the note, so it's like it's like that. So that is why most singers sound the same up there. But then Mariah, when you hear her sing her high note, it doesn't sound like it's getting thinner when it gets to the high note. Because, yeah, that's just her voice. It's massive. So even if it gets higher, she can still sustain it, her full voice without having to squeeze it to hit the note. So it's still full, it's still wide, it's still, you can feel the weight on her voice, right? Let's try to listen to one of her songs to illustrate that. Actually, this is one of my favorite songs, if not my favorite song, whenever you call. Listen closely to that part inside when she sings that last word on the bridge. And let's get right to the bridge so you can hear. Here.
You can turn to me and cry. Always understand that I give you all I am inside.
Did you hear that part inside? Inside! It gets heavier and still open even if it's getting higher, right? Because there are singers who, well, I don't want to illustrate other people singing the same song because I don't want to like seem mean to them because they're singing it like it's very thin and it's really squeezed to get that to that note. Many singers would sing like give you all I am inside. It gets like the passage is getting smaller. Their throat is getting like, if you know what I mean, like they are not able to really sustain their voice fully to get to the note. But Mariah, she is able to hit that really high note with her voice still full. It's wide, it's heavy. You can feel it, right? It's there's a volume, there's a heaviness in her voice. You can imagine her high note like in this analogy. You know, a balloon, right? So it's filled with air. So eh, Mariah's high note is also like a balloon, but it's not filled with air. Like when you prick it, it's nothing there. Mariah's high note is like a balloon filled with water. So it's kind of heavy. There's volume there because when you prick it, there's substance in her high note. So basically, her high note it's not just hitting that particular note, but in her high note there is power. There is substance. Like there's something there that you can hear, right? Like listen closely again. Here we go. So that inside part. Where do we get that inside part? Here. See? So inside, it's getting deeper, wider, heavier, but it never gets like inside. It doesn't sound like that. So that is the main difference with Mariah's high notes. I think that is the reason why many people find her different, because there is a sound that comes from her that doesn't come from anybody else. That she only owns that own sound, like up there. So it really sets her apart. It's like she has her voice has a world of its own, especially when hitting high notes. So, how to sing the high note like Mariah Carey? The answer is we cannot really sing the high note and sound like Mariah Carey because God chose her to have that throat or that kind of voice. But we can try to find that sound in our voice which we can morph into singing in a Mariah way, if you know what I mean. Like my voice doesn't sound anything like hers, but I kind of try to find some part in my voice where I can try to morph it into singing it in the same vibration as her, if that makes sense. Not really sounding exactly like her, but trying to make it a Mariah way kind of singing. So, for example, in the high note, I try to experiment with my own voice. As you know, that this channel is Mariah cover song channel, so I'm covering her songs. Not because I sound like her or anything like that, but I grew up listening to her. I love her music and I love to sing along with her. So I really like singing her songs. But let me know if you want to talk more about this stuff, because instead of me covering or making covers of her songs, we can try to make this in a channel where we can just appreciate her voice and basically talk more about her amazing work, right? So that's it. I guess the way for you to sing the high note like a Mariah is that you have to hit the high note and get yourself to have that volume or weight even when you are there, when you are up there. It's not, it doesn't have to be very squeezed, but try to have a little more substance even if you are hitting the high note there. So that's all for now. Let me know if you like more of these, and kindly subscribe and hit the notification bell for future videos. Ciao!